Hey everyone, welcome to the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. Home last night of Hockey Night in Canada, in Pennsylvania, in New York, and I don't know if you got. I probably didn't get a chance to watch the Islanders Rangers game yet, but it was a hell of a battle, and I'll also get into a little bit of the Quebec Canadiens game, which I'm replaying today for fun because the Nordiques beat the Canadiens 4-1 last night. Nice. It was a much closer game than that. It was a 1-1 game with the Nordiques scoring to make it 2-1, and then got 2 empty net goals in the last minute. But it was a pretty awesome game. And my Super Canadians, whenever I play them on here, they score like 5 goals. Whenever I stream them, they score no goals. They got 1 goal last night. They were shut up by the Leafs. Oh my gosh, crazy!
No tears for them.
Yeah. And the Islanders. Hey Jan.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Living the dream.
Okay, good. We are live. We're going to be jumping on to shortly. Joe Yearden's going to be joining us as well.
Yeah, around 1:30, right?
Yeah, 1:30. So
we're going to start with the let's get right into the show if we could, because we got a lot to go here. Is that okay, or do we have like an interesting?
I have a quick.
Yeah, Russ, ladies and gentlemen, we should call this Words from Russ.
No, I just want to let people know that if you are missing baseball, there is baseball in South Korea. It's the Kiwoon Heroes, and they're playing right now inter-squad games. I got to tell you, the baseball is good. Obviously, there's been plenty of major leaguers from South Korea, and it's fun. These guys bunt. They do all the little things. I really enjoyed watching it. It was a 2-hour broadcast. To me, it was good baseball, and even though it was exhibition.
Well, I have to say, and I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast yesterday, and he was talking about how a lot, like the MLB Network and NHL Network and all these other networks, are showing old-time games, and like CBS was showing the NCAA tournament. I don't know if it was from last year or if it was classic games, but he was, sort of, wondering if the ratings are good, really good on those games. What kind of effect will it have after, like, when we have like real games? There is like a hunger for classic games and for commentary on those classic games. So it's going to be interesting to see. I just turned on NHL Network and they had the '89 Cup final on.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to say for that. Last night there was the Flyers they had the Flyers, and around here at least they had Game 7 of the Boston series where the Flyers were down 3-0 and came back.
Right.
Yeah, right. That last night.
No, that's always going to have an audience. The last thing I would say, though, is like sports radio here is dead.
Oh my God!
And program directors should really be doing their jobs and plan like a week's worth of programming and guests ahead of time. Instead, like you tune in today and I see online for WIP, what's your favorite taco? If that's really what the question is, leading into your 4-hour sports talk show, nobody is going to listen.
Now the thing is, like our show, we have personalities, we have takes on historical things. I watched the Michael Kay show on out of New York on ESPN, and him and LaGreca and Peter Rosenberg, they have personalities, and they're entertaining, so they can carry the ball when it comes to something other than sports, like music or movies or whatever. When these guys who are cretins on sports talk radio have nothing else to talk about other than they can't go to their stupid criticisms of the local teams. It's the most boring crap.
It's horrible.
So a couple of interesting points. Rosenberg, actually, I think he's on Hot 97 also.
Yes.
And he has a big background in hip hop and rap. When you talk about classic games, a funny story. So I taped. Then CBS is running the old NCAA final games. They were doing it Saturday and Sunday. So I had taped the 12 o'clock North Carolina Georgetown, because that's the year my freshman year of high school. Two best friends were Carolina fans. It's the year I became a Carolina fan. The year I became a Jordan fan. So I'm rewatching it, I think Saturday night, because I couldn't watch because of Sabbath. I get about an hour and 10 minutes in, and Corona update. That takes the last 15 minutes of the broadcast and toast. Gone. Completely gone. I was like, so I tweeted somebody saying, hey, did CBS extend it or not? My understanding is I don't know if they did. So I think they went to the next game. So the last 15 minutes gone, including Jordan's shot with 17 seconds to go.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Right. So that game was us. But I don't know if you saw NBC Sports is replaying a ton of games, but they're shortening them. So, for example, 3 o'clock today is Rangers Capitals Game 7 2015, the Derek Stepan overtime game.
Right.
Today is all the overtime games. There's like game 7 of clinching games in the Stanley Cup Finals. So the next 5 days has like a theme associated with it to the games.
No, but that's what you should do. You should program a week out.
Yeah, I don't know why the NHL, with all of their power, isn't having like old players on talking all the time.
Right.
Well, I think
play those games back and have old players who played in those games talk about them, not just like play them, but have like a Mystery Science Theater type thing going on.
Right.
I think they broadcast the 1950 Rangers Red Wings game 7, I think, on one of the networks the other day.
I doubt it. Tell me for sure that they did, because from what I've seen, just on highlights,
Pinello had tweeted that they were showing this game, so I
doubt they have the full game. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's too long for the full game, probably.
Unless they got it from Paul Patsko, the guy who has all.
I don't even think Paul has.
Well, it's interesting the argument for MSG, right? Because MSG's been showing some interesting program. Now, MSG has all the Rangers games from that series they could show 94. Yeah, they've only been showing game 6 and game 7 in terms of the Devils and game 7 of the finals. Yeah. But there's been a lot of talk where NBC owns the rights. They could show a bunch of the Knick games because there was a ton of, and I'm sure there'll be a ton of interest to watch those games. Or game 7 of the Clyde Frazier game also they don't show a lot either.
Well, I just to echo your sentiments, Jan. It's like I can't. If I had $1 for every time I hear my mother complain about the Price is Right being preempted by Trump's press conferences, it's like, you know, she's like, I want to see the repeat of this thing that I've seen 15 times already because they're not filming.
This is what we need to
do.
And
I understand the need for it, right? It's just interesting that the one time they break in is the one show out of the entire run that I wanted to see. And I'm watching going, I'm fast forwarding, going, okay, I guess I'm not seeing the end. Thank God I know how it ends.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that, like, especially like NBC or something like that has news networks, like they have CNBC or MSNBC, like they could easily put something along the bottom of the screen saying there's a, news in the coronavirus, tune to MSNBC if you're interested in it right now.
Of course.
Or you could.
There's no reason that all these networks have to be reporting the same thing.
You can do almost picture in picture, which have the audio from the press conference, which is clearly probably more important than anything else right now. But run the other show in the background.
It's important, but
it's like the OJ chase and the Knicks play.
Well, yeah, that was right.
This isn't like we're waiting for like the next plane to run into a building. This is like weird. The things that are happening right now are going.
Right. And it's the same thing over.
Yeah, it's
the same thing.
How, like, I don't know. I don't want to get into this stuff.
No, I don't either. But I'm just saying it's the same repetitive. And I just have to say one last thing about NHL Network.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God, the first video you have to show is Game 7 of Leafs Bruins. Really?
Yeah. All right.
Go deeper into your well of games and find. What's next? Leafs Kings '93.
That works for me.
On that note,
that works for me. I'm good with that. I'm all good with that one. But in terms of your Mystery Science Theater, it's not necessarily similar. But I know FAN. I'm not sure if you listen, Ross. The Moose and Maggie show had quote unquote mystery guests on last week periodically.
That's good. No,
I had Kevin Burkhardt on one day.
It makes so much
some other people who kind of are people who started there, who moved on. Right? You can have there's a whole Ian Eagle you could have on. There's a ton of guys who have moved on to big roles who got their start on the network that are probably interesting to listen to.
I don't think they'll bring back Fred Sessa. Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
Okay, let's please start. Okay, here we go. Ready? Yeah, there's not enough people. Okay, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It is Monday, March 23rd, 2020.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Jan Levine.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world, and sponsored by listeners like you at Patreon.com/hockey. Patreon.com/hockey, where if you want to see hockey being talked about when there's no hockey being talked about, please help us out and give us a little bit there. $5 a month would help us immensely. We really appreciate it. We will have special prizes for those of you who do. Okay, moving on to so I wanted to start off. So I've got a couple games were played yesterday. In my little thing, just wanted to talk about that. I've been getting such great responses. I really appreciate it. I did play the Islanders Rangers game last night, which was a heck of a lot of fun, and it was kind of like how you would expect it in a way. It was weird. Like I was watching this thing, I'm just like, so the Islanders were getting a lot of power plays. The Rangers were taking a lot of penalties, and then the Islanders take a 1-0 lead on a Brian Trottier breakaway, and then But then from that point on, like Mike Richter just like shuts the door and makes save after save after save. The Rangers end up winning it 4-1. Really just like really good good show, good fun, just good old fashioned fun hockey. It felt like watching. You really felt like you were watching these teams. It really did, and it was fun to see the Cook Boucher line together,
Yep.
put them together.
The bread.
They look good. Each of the Cooks, one got an empty net goal, one got a regular goal.
Nice.
And,
that used to happen routinely.
Yeah. And it was just a blast to watch. Billy Smith was good, but Mike Richter was just fantastic, and it was just really fun, really fun. And then in the late game, with the Canadians and Nordiques, which I'm replaying here, you got to watch it just because it's so much fun. But I won't want to tell you how it ends exactly because I want you to watch it. But it ends in like the most ironic way possible, and just like the goal being scored. That it's just exactly how it would end, kind of like Theo Fleury scoring the overtime goal in the 6-5 win for the Flames over the Oilers, just like that. That's very, very possible. This is the same kind of thing. So I really definitely appreciate those who are watching it. Look it up if you want to watch the games. They're a lot of fun, and tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong as far as the broadcast goes. I'm about to get the technology to have more people on, so it won't just be me talking to you. And now the next set of games we're going to talk about today, because we're going to get into some players. From some all-time players from the Vancouver Canucks, because my next two rivalries are Vancouver and Calgary and Buffalo and Toronto.
I was going to say, are you doing the 1970s expansion? Because you were going to do Sabres and Canucks today. So that's.
I know it is the 70s. I didn't even think of that. I'm trying to like come up with rivalries as we keep going. So I'm going to go to the. I was trying to figure out also, guys, who do you think? And I was going to ask Peter Tessier this. Who do you think the natural rival of the Winnipeg Jets is? Like, if you were to say
Arizona.
No.
Is
it Edmonton?
Edmonton. It's Edmonton.
It's Edmonton, I guess.
Yeah, I would say it's Edmonton because, I mean, back in the day, those were the teams that were really something. So, yeah, you'll see Calgary, Vancouver. Let's get into Vancouver because we have, like you said, Mr. Joe Yerdon.
Joe's going to help us with the Sabres.
And Mike's got a few Buffalo opinions, probably.
Yep.
Well, that's the team I follow. I mean,
of course, no.
Yeah.
No worries with that.
With my immense hockey knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe will balance out Mike. That's the thought process.
Yeah. So the Canucks are a fun team. There's only two guys on this team when I was looking at them that have played over 1,000 games with the Canucks, and they happen to be twins.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think Linden did.
I don't think so. When I was looking at it, you can look it up, but I was looking at through it. He might have, but there are not that many team players that have played a ton of games with these teams.
No. Linden had 1,140.
Okay.
But Sedin's had the most, 1,330 and 1,306.
Actually,
Right.
Burrows got close too.
Yeah, Burrows. So I was trying to go for the top. Let's start with the top 12 Canucks forwards of all time, and this is pretty controversial. I already got some people who had opinions on this. This was tricky, but I'll give you my reasoning, and you can tell me what you think of. Okay, so first line, I had, and they're not really lines; they're not really in order, but these are
Right.
Bure, McGillney, and Trevor Linden.
I'm already disagreeing.
Okay, which one of those do you disagree with?
McGillney does not belong on as a Vancouver Canuck. He had one good year, 55 goals, and the rest of his years were not good. There are plenty of other.
I mean, he was almost a point a game, Mike. Let's see. I wouldn't put him on the top line. I'll give you that.
I would say he's not. Like I said, don't think of these guys as in order. Just think of them.
Right.
We'll go through all the 12, then you can decide.
I don't think he's a top 12, but continue.
Then I have the Sedins, of course, Naslin and Smeal.
Right.
Then Tanti, Gradin, and Kessler. And then finally, Sundstrom and Elias Pettersson.
Again, too early for Pettersson.
It's too early for Pettersson. He's
130 games, right? So
yeah, I know.
I don't have a problem with your top 8: the Sedins, Naslin, Trevor Linden, Smeal, Gradin, Bure, and Tanti. Tanti had 250 goals in 531 games.
Oh yeah.
Who's the final line?
I think Todd Bertuzzi belongs there.
Todd Bertuzzi. Well, as far as the lines go, it's hard to say. I didn't really put them in the lines.
But who's the last four?
Okay,
last three.
No, that's everybody I gave you. So Burry,
everybody.
It's on my blog. Burry, McGillney, Linden, Sedins, Naslin, Smeal, Elias Pettersson, Tanti, Gradin, Kessler, and Sundstrom.
Boy, I got to tell you, I would take out. I really would take out Pettersson, and I would either put Bertuzzi or Brendan Morrison.
What about Ryan Kessler?
He has Kessler.
I had Kessler. I agree with Brendan Morrison. I agree with Alexander Burrows. And Sundstrom had 342 points in 374 games. Maybe Cliff Ronning.
I would have said that was the other guy I was thinking was Ronning.
I did think about Ronning. We're joined by Joe. Hello, Joe. How are you doing?
Yep.
Hi, gang. How's everybody doing?
We're getting mid-drink there.
Yeah, we're debating the all-time Vancouver Canucks teams. We're going to get to the Sabres in a little bit, but we're trying to pick 12 forwards for the Vancouver Canucks, and I think it's too early to put Elias Pettersson after almost.
So we can get Joe caught up to speed here. Let me give Joe the parameters. Whenever you do a greatest of anything, right, it all comes down to the parameters. It's like, you can say the most valuable player. What is that? What is this? What is that, right? So I had to come up with something, and I'm doing this for my NHL 20 simulations to make these players. And I've made a bunch of teams, and I'm working on the Sabres and the Canucks. Now the Canucks, these are the parameters. The player has to have played at least 100 games in that uniform, so it can be regular season and playoffs. So he has to at least have had a little bit more than 1 year there. Mm-hmm. The evaluation is judged based only on the time spent with that specific organization. So if the player was great someplace else and played 150 games there, you don't get that player at his greatest ever. You get him how good he was there. So when you're evaluating, you have to see how good he was there. This is not a longevity test. So it's not based on, if a guy played 1,000 games, that's great. But if he wasn't, if he's not good enough to be on this list, he's not going to be on the list. And the forward positions don't matter. Taking it like it's an all-star game, so left wings, right wing, centers, they will find their own spots, right? And all these guys are showing up at camp in their prime as a member of that team, whatever the prime of that member of that team was. So that's the parameters. So the 100 games thing is why I have to put.
So obviously there's no salary cap here.
There's no salary cap, and that's why I have to put Elias Pettersson in that, because I think flat out, like if all these guys show up in their prime, Pettersson's on this team. I mean, he's got to be. He's good enough to be on this team. He will be obviously one of the greatest of all time too on that team. You would think if things continue as they're going. But so let me give Joe my 12, and then we can continue the debate here. So these are my 12 forwards: Bure, McGillney, Linden, Sedin, Naslin, Smeal, Pettersson, Tanti, Gradin, Kessler, and Sundstrom. So those are my 12. So we've already so that's now you're kind of caught up. Anything jumps out to you immediately?
I walked into part of the conversation, and I'm a little surprised by Brendan Morrison not being in that group, because he was. Yeah. I mean, he and Naslin were so great. So was Bertuzzi, but I mean, that line was just so good for so long there. It's a lot of history. I mean, it's 50 years of history you're trying to break down. I was trying to be a clown and see how Cam Neely did in Vancouver before he went to Boston. He didn't do that good there.
No, he didn't do that well.
Can't even shoehorn him in there. But
by the way, my son and I had a really good laugh with your "Can't sleep, clown will eat me" tweet today, because that's like one of our favorite quotes around here. Put the Simpsons picture up today of "Can't sleep, clown will eat me." I love that one. So. Okay, so Morrison, I can see Morrison for sure, but who's he knocking out? I guess that's the big question.
Sundstrom.
He's knocking out. No, I think the first two that are knocked out are McGillney and Pettersson.
Well, he's not going to knock out Pettersson. We know that, so we got to move past that.
Well, no, I'm not moving past it. I'm a pain.
Okay, but you're beating your head against the wall, Mike.
Which I know you like. I'm not the final say. It'll be the readers eventually who'll decide. But I'm pretty solid with Pettersson, just on the fact that I think he is one of the most talented Canucks to ever play for the Canucks. I mean, and he played.
But he hasn't done it long enough.
You're also the other thing I didn't actually say in my parameters is that you are comparing them, of course, to how good they were in their era against other players. So that's the other thing, which is always the big night. So if a guy is like a top player in his era, then he's a top player.
Well, here's my question: if you put a guy on the one team, and if he had a great career with another team, is he taken away from that other team?
No, he can be on. I have guys on two teams. I've had like Mark Recchi played against himself for the Flyers and the Rangers game, Flyers and Penguins game the other night. So
I was going to say, because number 89 there is going to be on. He has to be on the Sabres team.
Yeah, he's going to be on the Sabres team for sure.
And this is the thing. I'm looking up McGillney. He played 5 years with Vancouver, but 3 of those years he missed 1/3 of the season, and his point totals were under 50 points. He had one great year. The first year in Vancouver when he scored 55 goals. His second year, he had 73 points in 76 games. After that, he tailed off, and that's why they ended up trading him to New Jersey. So his career in Vancouver was not that great, and I think there are 3 or 4 other guys who had better careers.
I'm fine taking him off, but I think of all the guys missing, Morrison should be there.
Yes.
All right. I'm not 100% opposed to that. Like, I do have something where I don't love when players are on.
He is the second biggest star or third biggest star of a 10-year period in that franchise history.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what he is.
But Russ, you're the guy who made the argument that Gretzky should be one of the top 12 Rangers.
Because he's Wayne Gretzky. I mean, Wayne Gretzky.
I'm sorry.
Again, I pointed out he had 97 points. How many Rangers have a list of 97 points? Not that many.
I've had this argument with Russ already. I'm not going there again.
Yeah, you don't have to go there. But but I'm saying to say McGillney is a very similar situation. Like, to me, like
not really. Gretzky did better than McGillney. A lot better.
For the Canucks, I mean,
he's
one of the top point per game guys in the team's history.
He had 107 points that year, Russ.
Yeah,
McGillney.
Right, the one year, but you said the other years. I'm going by everything.
He tailed off. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a lot to get to, but if keep your thoughts going, keep it in the chat room, throw it up there. We'll continue this thought. It's easier to get the
defenseman. You didn't say.
Yeah,
defenseman.
we're going to do defenseman.
We get the 6 defensemen all the time. This is a really tough list for the Vancouver Canucks because the Canucks have not had serious standout defensemen. Like, when you go through it, they haven't had like those like knockdown. I don't think there's a Hall of Famer on this list, for example.
No, there's not. There are a couple no-brainers based on their. I mean, I think Edler is a no-brainer.
Right. So here they are. Ready? Oland,
Yeah.
Bieksa, Sneps, Lume, Edler, and Lister.
I can't put Harold Sneps on a list. I'm sorry. Cannot do it.
I got to look up what Doug Lister did there again. I'm not sure about
307 points in 666 games.
I mean, he was a solid defenseman, so that might be all right.
He was by far the best.
or better Canuck.
How about
Right,
Ed,
go ahead.
how about Ed Jovanovski?
Yeah, Special Ed should be there.
And Special Ed.
That's his nickname.
Joe, thoughts?
That was JovoCop.
I did hear Matthias Oland in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the top one for me.
Right. He was the one that jumped to mind. Jyrki Lume.
Yep.
How do we feel about Jeff Brown?
We had him on the Quebec team because his point totals were fantastic there. I'll have to look and see what
team he did. He did okay. There's a lot of defensemen that are in the same sort of.
He's only 3 years in Vancouver, so I mean, I understand. He had a traveler's career, but
he really did. I mean, he was.
I don't know, 54 points in 72 games in 3 years. It's not a lot of games in 3 seasons. But
How about Jim Benning? I'm kidding.
No, how about Dan Hamhuis?
Yeah,
Hamhuis is another possibility.
Here's my thing on Lidster. You know, Mike. You and I are Stratomatic people, right? So we were big on. There was the Canucks were one of my teams in Stratomatic back then when I would play with my buddies, and it was about 5 or 6 years where Lidster was by far the best defenseman on this team.
He was a very good defenseman. He was.
There's no question. He was the only guy that you were like. If you had a guy, he was your guy. Like.
Yeah, he was always a top-rated defensively. He was a top-rated defensive guy, but offensively, he was middle of the pack at best. And he was
always a 4, Mike. Always a 4.
Yeah, he was always a 4 on defense, but not defensive.
He was always a 4 on the offense. I'll prove it. I swear to you, he was. This was my team. He was often 4-2, actually, 4-3. Because Stratomatic was 1-4.
Flipped the other way, but okay. All right. Goaltenders, I think, should be easy.
Goaltenders are easy.
We'll see. Go ahead.
They're Hasek Miller. I'm going to the wrong team. Sorry. They're McLean and Luongo. And I guess the bigger question is who is.
Well, no. I'm going to tell you right now. If true Canucks fans are voting, they're going to vote in Sir Richard Brodeur over McLean 100 times out of 100.
Yep. King Richard.
Well,
no question.
Let's let me do this on Twitter.
Yeah, King Richard.
We go up on Twitter and see what they say.
Yeah, trust me. He's going to win out on Kirk McLean.
He got them to a Stanley Cup final that they didn't deserve to even get close to.
He's the fan favorite.
So did McLean.
But I want to tell you something.
You think?
He is the all-time favorite goalie in the history of the Canucks.
Okay.
He is.
Well, that's a good point. So who does he beat out then, McLean or Luongo?
McLean. He beats up.
McLean.
It's Luongo and Brodeur.
What do you think, Joe?
Richard Brodeur was the only one that really came to mind. I mean, I'm a '90s kid, so McLean is always my guy. But I mean, Luongo's brilliance is far beyond. So I mean, he's absolutely number one.
Yeah.
You caught me looking at other Vancouver defensemen, and I was trying to dig up some good arguments.
Yeah. Sorry.
Dave Babbage was the only one I could come. Vancouver's had lousy defensemen, man.
That Babbage was the guy I was looking at, and
Garth Butcher.
Oh man, Garth Butcher.
It's a sorry ass franchise.
I mean, Lume was really good, but he was,
Lume was good.
Lume belongs in the top 6.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't have a great history of defensemen. Quinn Hughes will be their best defenseman ever if he stays healthy.
That's a great point.
But after those top 3 goalies, after Luongo, Brodeur, and Kirk McLean, you're going into like Dunk Wilson and Kurt Ridley territory.
I'm going to tell you the most ironic part about speaking about the all-time Canucks. Doug Lister won his cup the next year with the Rangers. We could start there after leaving the Canucks. And then Kirk McLean eventually became a Ranger because I was covering him when he did.
Oh, man. I'd forgotten about that.
And so did Pavel Bure.
Pavel Broadway is what I nicknamed him for the 100 games he played. If he played 100. I think he played about 100, maybe.
Did his knees hold up that long?
Well, I don't know. He played like 30 or 40 the first year, and he was a point a game. Then he went and got he probably played about 50 games and then he came back, and then I think he played about 20 games the second year.
He still had 50 points in 51 games as a Ranger.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. I'm telling you, even after the 8 knee surgeries, he would still bring people out of their seats. And he was so happy that he was even playing. Like, he was such a good guy to cover. It was unbelievable. And to watch him, he still had a good head of steam every once in a while too.
Yeah.
He gutted it out, man. He was a tough guy.
31 goals in 51 games as a Ranger.
Yeah, he was exciting, man. I'm telling you.
All right, I just tweeted out that
bringing people out of their seats for those Rangers, though. That's the
I mean, it was Peter Nedved. That's it.
Sort of the same effect that Tage Thompson has as a Sabre, Joe.
Well, I mean, hey, Dale Puritan threw down for the Rangers.
Dale Puritan was a great guy. He was fun to watch. Dale Puritan. He was crazy though.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. All right, speaking of Sabres, let's move on to our Sabres. Okay. I put out on Twitter that Luongo's our number 1, but to have the fans out there vote for the number 2 between McLean and Brodeur, I think you're probably right, but I think Kirk McLean often gets overlooked for what he did.
And he will get overlooked on this poll too. You watch.
Well, probably right. Okay, here we go. All right, now on to the Sabres. The Sabres are a tough one. Obviously,
start with the easy one. Start with the goalies.
Yes.
Well, that's really easy, right? I mean, this is Dominic.
Well, the only thing you could debate. I mean, because Hasek obviously is number 1. Is are you going to say that Barrasso or somebody like Bob Sauve matches up with Ryan Miller? And I don't think you can.
No, I am.
Miller had the longevity. He got them to a couple conference finals. Whereas Sauve and Edwards only got them to 1 conference final in 1980. You can't talk about the goalies, the Croziers or the Gary Bromleys or the Jerry Desjardins of the 70s. So it's really down to Miller or Barrasso, and I think Miller outshines Barrasso.
What about Scott Norwood? Did you give him any thought?
There we go.
I did not.
I did.
Anyhow, keep shots always.
Yeah.
Let's do the defense next. Then we'll work our way up. We'll work our way up to the.
No, Joe. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with Miller over Barrasso?
Yeah, I think Barrasso's the only. I mean, he won Calder, and I mean that's like his award nod there. I think Miller was too good.
Yeah,
and the team around him. It was the same way it was built with Hasek. I mean, it's. If Miller wasn't holding them in the games for a lot of those years, they were in trouble. But I know it was different in 06 and 07. I mean, that just happened to coincide with Miller coming up and becoming just outstanding. But I mean, I remember his Vezina season in 2010, and I mean, saw it at the Olympics too. He was just so good.
Yeah,
and that whole season, to me, is like the resume you need to write for why Ryan Miller belongs on that list, and he also is, you can write that for his Hall of Fame future because I think he's a Hall of Famer.
I think he is too.
I think he is too.
I think he is. Yep.
They can be tough on goalies in the Hall of Fame, though. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, there's so few in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question here, Hasek was. You could argue that Miller was better than Hasek in some ways, as far as like he got them further. I mean, the team went further with him, right? I mean,
no. I mean, they went to a Stanley Cup final with Hasek.
I'm sorry, I withdraw my statement.
Yeah, but no. I mean, Hasek.
I forgot that was Hasek that year. I apologize. I should remember because I watched them take apart the Flyers in the playoffs in that year.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. All right, so here we go. Defense is always tricky.
Okay.
They do have some pretty good defensemen. Here's
I'll raise my hand when I disagree.
Remembering my parameters, Mike. Okay. My top 6 are Mike Ramsey, Phil Housley, Jim Schoenfeld, Larry Playfair.
Nope.
Jay McKee.
Okay.
And Dahlin, Rasmus Dahlin.
No, negative. There are so okay. First of all, Dahlin does not belong on this list again because it's been a year and 3 quarters.
He's played over 100 games, Mike. You got to go with my parameters.
But even with your parameters, I wouldn't put him on it.
There are so many defensemen who, in their prime. I mean, I'm not saying Dahlin couldn't be. He could very well be the best defenseman all time for the Sabres after 10 years, but not after a year and 3 quarters. So I'm talking. Let's see. Ramsey definitely. You have to factor in Alexei Zhitnik. Maybe a guy like Doug Bodger. If you want to go back into the 70s, Jerry Korab or Bill Haidt, who was
you're overlooking one that's obvious, Mike.
Go ahead.
Woolley.
Jason
Woolley.
Jason Woolley. Are you kidding me? No.
He was solid for them.
Yeah, but he's not a
mix of offense and defense. I thought he was solid for them.
No, not a chance. What about Ristolainen?
Maybe.
No. Like, I mean,
why?
I'm what Ristolainen over Dahlin?
Over Dahlin, sure.
No, not a chance. I mean,
no, I would not. No, Dahlin's the one I disagree with the least.
Yeah.
With honestly,
I like you, Joe. You should come back more often.
In 98-99, Woolley was the top scoring defenseman for the Sabres.
No, I like the Woolley. I like Woolley as a pick. I don't think he had the longevity in Buffalo necessarily. But I think Jerry Korab is one that needs to be in that mix a little bit more.
Yeah, he's Playfair with more skill.
Yeah, Larry Playfair was a really good. I think if you're talking all around like good dudes,
yes,
like he's just a prince of a guy. I don't know that I would put him on top 6 all time. I don't know that he makes. I don't know if he makes that cut.
He's the top.
Might be the number 7, number 8.
He's the top enforcer for sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
He was King Kong, right?
Jay McKee was a pretty good enforcer.
Yeah,
right, Mike, was his nickname King Kong for Korab? Yeah.
Yes, King Kong Korab. Yeah,
right.
And like he wasn't just a beat 'em up guy. He was loose too.
And if you're talking of an offensive guy for his peak years, after they got him from Colorado for Rene Robert, it was John Van Boxmeer. He had 215 points. I think he made an all-star team in 294 games compared to some of the other defensemen. You can't include the Richard Schmelicks or those type of defensemen. But, Bill Haidt was – you talk about a Stratomatic guy, Bill Haidt was a 4 on defense every year. Now, he didn't intimidate.
Yeah.
He had no offense at all in his game, but he was a shutdown defender.
The defensive part of playing defense, Bill Haidt was a guy who everybody, when I was writing about Mike Ramsey, and asking those guys who they thought was the best defenseman of all time, in the organization. And when I asked Bill Haidt about who he thought, and he said Mike Ramsey. And I told Mike Ramsey that Bill Haidt picked him, and he was just kind of blown away by that because he viewed Haidt as the guy as the best defender. And I think when you break it down, I think Ramsey did more than Haidt did, which probably gives him a nod. You need a little bit of offense from the back line, but I mean, Housley provided plenty of that, and Dahlin's certainly very capable of that too. So, I mean, it might not be like a brash standout, like name of names sort of defense setup, but like you can get everything you need out of them and go. Buffalo's MO.
Just for you, both of you, I had to look this up because I don't know Sabres lore very well, but I did remember Wooly having some moments. He scored an overtime goal in the finals in game 1.
Yeah.
So he had 15 points in 21 playoff games. Like I would put him in there. I would.
Russ, I'm not saying he wasn't a good contributor. I'm just saying in terms of all-time top 6, he had a very small window. He was
how many Sabres have overtime winning goals in the Stanley Cup?
I know that's one moment. We can't pick him.
Not one moment though, but he was their best guy for at least 3-4 of his 5 years.
Nah, I really don't think he merits it.
What do we have here? So we have we all obviously Housley's.
We agree on 4. We agree on
Housley, Ramsey, Schoenfeld, and McKee.
McKee.
Okay, those are the 4 we agree on.
Yeah.
Schoenfeld, you get another donut.
Darlene, Russ, where are you with Rasmus Dahlin in this?
I wouldn't put Darlene there yet.
Yep.
Okay.
I think he's close. I think we're not seeing the best of Rasmus Dahlin yet. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah, it's just scary, you know.
Well, it is scary, but it's true. I mean, I would say he's 20% better right now than he was last year, and I think he'll be 30 or 40% better in a year or two.
Right.
Well, I'll go to the fans, assuming the fans vote Dahlin in, which I think they will, because since we have a tie here, with Joe and I being for sure with Dahlin and you two not being. Joe, you came today.
Russ made a good argument for Jason Woolley. I'm kind of feeling that pick a little bit more.
All right, I appreciate it, Joe.
But yeah, I think that bottom 2, outside of Mike's just killing me for it. But I think those last 2 spots, that kind of encapsulates the franchise. You can make an argument for about 4, 5, 6 guys, and any one of them sort of makes sense.
How about Tempo Numminen?
Tempo was great here. It's just
I
suspended him for having a heart condition, man. Like, come on.
Right.
I put him in the James Patrick category. He was a dependable veteran who was here for 3, 4, 5 years, but he was never spectacular. Like, Alexei Zhitnik was their top defenseman when they got to the Stanley Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
No, Jason Woolley was.
No, he was not. I'm telling you.
Yes, he was, Mike. He had 10 goals. He scored the overtime. He had 10 goals. How many goals did Zhitnik have?
I'm telling you,
Look
Jason.
it up.
No, but Zhitnik just carried the play more.
I'm talking about ice time.
Ice time and just stuff.
But
maybe not.
I guarantee you, Woolley had more points. You want to look it up?
They probably did. But
I'm not arguing that.
so it's interesting. I'm on the NHL 20 list that they have here, right? And they have. This is a funny list for their alumni players because I have to build a lot of players because they're not on here because they probably
didn't get contracts yet.
They decided they didn't sign whatever they had to sign to put them on here. But their highest ranked defenseman is Teppo Numminen at an 86. And then the next highest that they have on here is Brian Campbell at 85.
Yeah, Campbell for like 3 years was awesome.
Okay, I'm sorry, Brian Campbell?
But he was 3 years, Mike. Now you're even 3 years of good. The couple of years before that, he wasn't good.
By the way, Russ, Alexei Zhitnik had 15 points in the 99 playoffs too. So
all right, fine.
He and Woolley were the leading scorers in the playoffs.
But they do have William Haight. How do you say it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Bill Haight.
They do have him on here at 83. They do have Korab at 83. Yeah. Then they go to Bodger, Uwe Krupp.
He wasn't there long enough. He was there for about 3 years, and he got traded in the LaFontaine Turgeon deal.
Yeah, and there's Jeff Georges on here too. So
Jeff Johnson?
Georges? Who's George?
Josh George. Oh,
Josh Georges.
Sorry, Josh George.
Oh my God, jeez. Yeah,
that's dirty. You know what?
He hates Toronto. So
Josh George. One time, I'm going to tell you something. One time when he was with the Canadians, he at the end of a game came out of the locker room with his socks on, looking for, I can't remember who it was in the Flyers locker room. He started walking into the Flyers locker room until somebody grabbed him. Literally, he wanted somebody that bad. He was like that kind of guy.
Wow. They also have Dryden's brother on here.
Dave Dryden. Yeah, he was a backup goalie in the set.
Yeah, Ken Dryden is not in this game because he didn't sign his thing. So
of course he didn't. Ken Dryden doesn't do anything.
I created him. He played last night against Norway.
except write books and be very long-winded, right?
Well, he wrote one book, maybe
and
two.
legislature. I mean, didn't he write a lot of?
Legislature. Yes,
he wrote a lot of that.
He doesn't do a lot. Ken Dryden doesn't do a lot.
All right, we got to get to the forwards. The forwards are crazy.
He was a great goalie, though.
Here we go to the forwards. Okay, I think the one thing we can all agree with the French connections on there.
Yes.
Right, that's an obvious one. So that they start so we're down to 9 forwards.
Well, some people will be pissed off that you didn't include Tim Horton because they do have a statue outside of KeyBank Center of Tim Horton, but
that was built by the donut people. That wasn't even built by the people.
That's right.
That's true. Okay.
All right, then I go to McGillney, LaFontaine, and Turgeon.
Yep, can't argue that.
No.
Who?
McGillney, LaFontaine, and Dave Andrechuk.
You don't think Turgeon's on this team?
I don't think so.
Remember, I'm not really going in order. I'm just giving you.
I got to look it up now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He had really good numbers for the Sabres, and he played a lot of games.
And he got him Pat LaFontaine.
Well, yeah,
right. The guys were traded for each other, exactly.
He was drafted first overall in '87, and he was traded in '91. His great years were with the Islanders and with.
Well, he did have 106 points, and he did have 88 points, 79 points.
But I'm looking at the history of and I know it's not positional, but if you're talking about it's Perreault, it's LaFontaine, I think Eichel belongs on there, and then I don't see how you can not look at a guy like Don Luce.
Let's
continue with the rest. So we have all 12 of them. Okay, so
we'll pencil in Turgeon. We're not sure now.
Then I got Howard Truck, Briere, and Drury.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally got Andrechuk, Gare, and Eichel.
I can't see how you don't include Craig Ramsey. You don't include Don Luce.
Don Luce should probably be there.
You don't include Jason Pominville.
How about Mike Foligno?
I like Foligno. I think he'd probably be in there. I mean, Thomas Vanek.
Yeah, Vanek
might deserve to be there.
Okay, yeah, I thought about Vanek for sure. He played a ton of games there. Obviously, had some good years.
Miroslav Shatan.
I don't see Shatan over anybody on here.
You
guys are the Buffalo guys, though. You tell me.
I think Shatan. Shatan is their. Shatan was their sniper for what 6-7 years, Joe.
Yeah. The proper comparison with him is basically Jeff Skinner. Like that's. Yeah, that's where he comes in. I mean, he was their goal source when the league wasn't scoring goals.
Right.
And certainly the Sabres weren't scoring goals back then.
Here's the argument. So Luce has fewer points than Ramsey, but a higher points per game. I'm okay if Luce is there over Ramsey. That's the way I look at it.
Ramsey's so good defensively, though.
Yeah, Ramsey,
I know, but
he's a Selke guy, man.
Yeah, he was.
Ramsey was a Selke guy. So what?
Ramsey was.
What? It's an award.
Russ, he was their second best left winger for in the 70s behind Rick Martin. He was their top penalty killer. He was one of the best defensive forwards in hockey. He's got to be on there, and so does. He had 672 career points in 1,070 games, and Luce had 150 less points.
Right, but he was more points per game. Is my point. Ramsey played a lot.
Ramsey was a defensive guy. That's what he was.
Right, but Luce was actually a better offensive player. If you're going to say no, I will disagree with you.
No, I think there were. Well, he was more creative. He was more of a playmaker.
He was more creative.
No, this is the thing. You have to also factor in with Pierre Turgeon the era that he played. 322 games, he had 323 points. He was a point per game.
Right.
LaFontaine, in 268 games, had 385 points. So LaFontaine, in my mind, makes it over Turgeon. If you're talking about go up, down the middle, it's like I think Eichel makes it. I think Perreault makes it. I think Luce makes it. And if it's between LaFontaine and Turgeon, I go with LaFontaine.
As far as goals, though, Gare and Vanek are 4th and 5th in the franchise.
Right. Gare had 50. Gare is one of the few guys on this team that scored 50 goals.
Right.
What's
So
we
take, these guys on.
What's that, Joe?
His numbers hanging up in the rafters too.
Right. That's also.
So there's that factor. That's where if the argument's between Gare and Vanek, I think you have to side with tickets on that one.
Yeah.
Vanek. I mean, if you throw Vanek in over Turgeon, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
You guys are all okay with that. That's interesting. Okay, so that would be the only real basic change then. So we're keeping Gare on.
We're keeping Gare on.
Yeah.
You actually could form lines that actually played for these teams for years, because it's the French Connection.
Right.
Ramsey, Luce, and Danny Gare. Andrew Chuck with LaFontaine and McGillney, and then your fourth line is probably what? I mean,
Eichel, Vanek, and
Gare.
You guys are taking a lot of my guys out now. I thought we were just taking one guy out here. He's like,
I don't know. I don't know if Drury belongs. I don't know.
Drury. I mean, I can see borderline on Drury, but
Drury doesn't show up in any of the statistical categories.
Yeah,
I know he's far down, but he's just as far as an important player for that team.
Right. I mean, I think Vanek in terms of importance and longevity beats Drury. Now, obviously, they made the conference final 2 years when Drury was here, but then he leaves right after that. I mean, Joe, what was he? He was there for 3 years, three and a half. Yeah, Drury.
Yeah, Drury, it was about 3 years, because that was the trade from Calgary.
Yes.
Was it? Or free agent from Calgary? They had to be a trade.
Right, it was Calgary.
That's right, yeah. So it wasn't that long, because once the contract was up, he was getting ignored by Darcy Regier, or they were going too hard and whiffed, and whatever happened with all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a short time, but it was a window that really, I mean, it's one that everybody refers to now as the golden age. I mean, they were great. I mean, they conference final 2 years in a row, President's Trophy the 1 year. I mean, that's stuff that doesn't really happen in Buffalo ever. So.
I mean, if it's not for all the injuries, they probably win that Stanley Cup right after the lockout. You know, they probably.
Definitely. 07.
I covered a little bit when the Flyers played them.
So okay, I know.
Right, we're taking off here. So if we're gonna get Luce, and if we're gonna get Ramsey on, we got to take two guys off. So who else are we taking off here?
I would take Drury off.
All right,
Drury and Turgeon then.
Well, you already replaced Turgeon with Vanek.
Well, then I guess Luce doesn't make it then.
You got Howard Chuck, you got Briere, you got Andrew Chuck, you got Gary.
I would take Luce over Howard Chuck.
Yeah, that's a good one. I should look up Howard Chuck, because we're just going by name.
Was his career better in Winnipeg or Buffalo?
Winnipeg.
It was better in Winnipeg, but it was really good in Buffalo.
It was good, but he was a compliment. He was a secondary player in a way.
He is their number one ranked player on this alumni thing that they did.
Because of his skill level, sure.
Also because no one else really signed up for this. It's amazing. Like when you look at the people on this list that aren't on here, like it's incredible.
You know what it is? He had 4 killer years. He did.
Yeah, Howard Chuck had 385 points in 342 games, 110 goals, as opposed to, like, if we're talking, I mean, Luce had 526 points, but he played 760 games. Now, he was more of a two-way forward. He was not.
I will say this: Howard Chuck, he had years where he was in the minus 22, minus 17. I would take Howard Chuck off.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Now, can we do this?
If you guys want Selke guys on there, you got to take Howard Chuck out.
Can we do this? Can we? Because we haven't done it for the other teams. Can we pick the greatest, the coach for these teams?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Let's do that.
Okay, because if it's the Sabres, I'm definitely not choosing Scotty Bowman.
Well, we knew that, Mike. Like, it was so obvious you were not going to choose Scotty Bowman.
Well, because his tenure in Buffalo was a disaster. I actually think they would have to choose Lindy.
Well, I think he's the only one. Like, who else would you choose?
You're choosing Punch?
It's definitely not Marcel Pronovo.
To me, there's nobody else. It's Lindy.
Yeah,
I mean, why would you? What do you think, Joe, on that one?
It's Lindy Ruff for me.
Yeah.
I think that's without a doubt. It's not Ron Ralston.
It's not Ted Nolan, unfortunately. Funky.
No, yeah, not Teddy, but.
Although it's going to annoy Lindy Ruff if you have Zhitnik on this roster, but anyhow.
I've got a good Zhitnik story. Can I tell you my Zhitnik story? All right, so I was going up to the XM thing to do one of the things I did at down. And I was with I brought my wife up on the trip, and we went to Niagara Falls as is the law if you pass through there. So we stopped there, and at Niagara Falls, I went on the boat trip, the Lady of the Mist trip, with Alexei Zhitnik and his wife, and me and my wife, the four of us, just like an off-hour weird time, did that trip. Really kind of crazy. He's a really nice guy. Like, it was totally. I thought he was a really, like, did not look like a hockey player.
He just didn't like to practice.
Out of hockey clothes, he didn't look like a hockey player to me at all. Like, it was interesting. He definitely was like.
If he'd have practiced harder, he wouldn't have.
Yeah, super talented, obviously. But
would you say for Vancouver, Pat Quinn?
I think so.
It's either Pat Quinn, Harry Neal, Roger Nielsen,
or Lane Vigneault.
Or Lane Vigneault.
It's either Vigneault or Quinn. Those are the choices.
I'm not going to give it to Vigneault because I thought he really kind of screwed up that Stanley Cup final with the way he coached it. I thought, to me that was.
I don't think it was his fault.
The Rangers were a better team, Mac.
I think we are talking about a 90-second window where they lost the Cup.
The Bruins final, not with
No, but you're talking about a 90-second window, and they would have won the Cup. Like, we all thought that game was going to, or could have won the Cup. We all thought that series was coming back, and then all of a sudden it was like goal, 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 and you were like, I guess the Stanley Cup's over. But nobody felt like it was going to be over that night. I had people covering the game; they were stunned at the game.
No. I'm talking about Vancouver, and Buffalo,
and
Boston, Vancouver, Boston, Game 7, and not just Game 7, but the whole series. The way he handled Luongo throughout that series. Remember, Luongo could only stop the pucks in Vancouver, and in Boston, he couldn't stop anything.
But how was that Vigneault's fault?
To me, this is it's hard to tell what a coach honestly does, right? So you sit there and you try to say, okay, how much of an impact he actually has. But my remembering of that was the press conference, which I'll never forget. Like, Luongo was just getting shelled in Boston, and it was just a matter of like, okay, of course he's your goalie, but you wouldn't take him out, like you wouldn't even pull him out. Like, he was kept getting shelled. And I asked him in the press conference, and this really like hit me the wrong way. I asked him, did you ever think about taking Luongo out in the game? It's a normal thing. And he says, well, I thought about it, but he skated over to me and he gave me a look in his eyes like, don't take me out. So I left him in there. And I just felt like at that point, that was just like, that's the wrong answer for a coach to say in that situation. Like, he's got to take it. Of course, LeBron.
Well, not when it's Roberto Luongo. I mean,
to no end, but you got to save him from himself there a little bit and give him a chance to like recover. Because I think Luongo never had a chance to recover, never got his confidence up enough that he could actually, stop.
But he also has to stick with his number one guy. I mean,
right.
You got to remember at that point, Corey Schneider, he put him in. He played 5 games in that 2011 playoffs. He was still really an unproven guy.
He was raw. He was very raw.
Yeah, when I'm talking about in games that you're out of, if you're totally out of a game, in that situation, why are you keeping Roberto Luongo in those games? Like, to me, that made he was getting blown out of games. And
but you know what the thing is? If you take him out and sit him, and he didn't want to get taken out, you could take him right out of his rhythm too. Like,
he was getting shot. There was no rhythm. I mean,
but there is.
There was like 8-2.
No. It's not that. It's not that game. It's the mindset. The minute you take him out, that changes the way he's sort of thinking and going about things. Then for the next game, because then all of a sudden he has to wonder, is he the goalie for the next game until the coach announces it? Then you've created that whole scenario.
Well, he can easily say to him, "You're the goalie for the next game." I mean, that's like, to me, you can't. A coach has to like take over for a player when a player's in that competitive heat of the moment where a player's not going to be. You can't make the right decision. Like, you can't. There's no way Luongo's going to come out.
I have a lot of friends in Vancouver. I've not heard anybody blame Vigneault for that.
I'm not blaming him for it altogether. I'm
just telling you.
I'm blaming him for the series. It's just because we don't, like I said, we don't see enough of what coaches actually do. But it was a situation where I felt like we did see something that a coach actually did, and it wasn't like the greatest thing for a coach to do. Like, it was a situation where, okay, he is.
I think he read the landscape of Luongo's personality in terms of what does it do to him psychologically if I pull him in these games, and his read was it's going to affect him negatively, so we're going to stick with him.
Right. I mean, I will say this: Vigneault put Burrows with the Twins, and everybody, I think, at the beginning was like, "What the hell is he doing?" And that's what got him to the Stanley Cup, because that was exactly what the Twins needed.
For sure. No, I mean, I'm not saying to make bad moves either. I'm just saying that it was just, to me, I don't know, as a goalie person especially, like, I thought it was just kind of ridiculous that he and I wasn't alone with that thought. I mean, other people wrote about it too at the time. It was just kind of, when you leave a goalie like Joe says, when you leave a goalie,
for all the love that I have for the Canucks, you could put Torts as their coach. It's fine by me.
Well, that 11 Cup changes with it's the Aaron Rome hit first off on it.
Oh yeah.
And it's Hamhuis getting hurt. I think it was game 3.
Yeah. Yep.
Game 3 in Boston, game 4 in Boston. He gets hurt, and that changed everything because Canucks were doing a pretty good job bottling up Boston, and then
they were
fire under them, and then they lose their best defenseman, and then it was.
Oh, you never saw it more. You couldn't be more right, Joe. You never saw it more clearly than you saw it on the Rome hit. You're right. Like that moment in Boston when Rome takes out
Horton.
Right, where they takes out Horton was the moment that I think I was sitting next to you, Russ, at the time in the press box, and we were like, I said, you just woke up.
Yes, actually, I think you're right.
I mean, this whole thing, I said, you just woke up an Eastern Conference team. And at that point, because we woke up the Boston Bruins in a way that,
Yeah, I do remember you saying that because I had guys in Vancouver. I covered the Boston end of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And that's coming off of the way that they basically mocked Boston out of Vancouver in those first 2 games with Burrows and the whole biting thing, like everything.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff was just driving them crazy. And LaPierre getting away with diving and all the stuff that was going on, that Vancouver, all the dirty tricks they were doing, suddenly it was just all thrown right back at them.
And do you think Marchand would have speed bagged Sedin if like guys like Rome were still on the line? I don't think he would have done it. I think that
I think he would have done it. I don't think
he would have done it anyhow.
He doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care.
Moments like that, and it's really incredible. Like those turning points. I would love to write a book about that. I've always said the turning points.
I'd love to watch that entire series over again, because that was like the height of just that was hockey at its meanest and finest.
Here's what I'll tell you about the two coaches, because I've covered them both and I've been in press conferences.
Before you start, Russ, I've got another coach name to throw in there.
Do it.
This may have been where you were going. Why not Mark Crawford? Mark Crawford.
I wasn't going there, but that's a good point.
He was really great with Vancouver. It was a really good run, except there was some really bad stuff that happened under the
That's Steve
really bad stuff.
Yeah, but no, he was on a good run. You're right about that.
He was on a good run. I will say this. I mean, Crawford's a complete jerk. Moving aside that, Quinn, I have great respect.
Russ.
I have great respect for Quinn.
I think that's widely accepted. Yep.
It is widely accepted. I have great respect for Quinn and Vigneault, and the difference in those two, I always felt like Quinn was kind of like the see what's happening in that particular game kind of flow, and not as much X's and O's. And Vigneault was always doing matchups, always changing things. And so I have to sort of give the nod, I think, to Vigneault because of that, because I don't think they get there without those changes he made in the lines early in that season. I just don't.
Before we end the show, I just want to throw this around, because I heard Elliot Friedman talk about this on the 31 Thoughts podcast a couple days ago, and it might be a factor with what's going forward in terms of if the NHL resumes their schedule. He was making a linkage between the potential cancellation of the Olympics and the NHL going to this August-September schedule that has been thrown out there by Frank Cervelli and a few other people, because
it's a big deal.
Because NBC has the Olympics
and on TSN, right, or whatever it is. Or I don't know.
I think it's TSN. No,
TSN probably does have the Olympics.
CBC does.
CBC does. Okay.
All right, so that's another. I mean, CBC. That's they cover a ton of hockey games.
But the whole thing is that if the Olympics don't get canceled, then NBC is going to not be able to broadcast playoff games, because they'll be committed because of the Olympics. I mean, it's not all due to the Olympics, but the whole thing is
they can put it on NBCSN. They can.
Right.
Well, the Olympics were postponed during this show that we were recording right now. They did. They've been officially postponed yet.
Okay.
Well, then there you go. I didn't.
That's the Summer Olympics, Mike. That's not the
no.
winter.
No. We're talking because the Summer Olympics.
I know you're talking about the winter. He's talking about the summer.
No, Mike's talking about the summer, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about something.
Oh, you are talking about the summer?
Yeah, we'll go directly head to head there with the time period, with the
exactly. So that's
all right. Well, they canceled it. So
in a way, that's good news for the NHL if they want to play this abbreviated schedule playoffs in August and September. Now the programming will be. I mean, because right now the way things are looking, Joe, everything is going to get played in September. The Masters, the French Open, Wimbledon. It's going to be the busiest September in the history of professional sport.
Yeah, it's if it plays out that way, and I mean, who knows how everything's going to go? But if it's set up that way so that September, October turns into just a free for all, which I mean, I then wonder about, can baseball do anything at that point? Probably not.
Right. September? No, they can't do anything.
I think baseball will start by July, or they're.
I think it will start in June. I really think baseball will start in June. But if the hockey thing fails, they'll probably run like Brooklyn Nine-Nine 24/7. That's probably what they'll do at NBC.
Hey, at least that's good. That's good TV watching, anyways.
Oh, for sure.
I've never watched an episode.
No, you might hate it.
I will say this.
Probably hate it.
I think Sandberg is a cheap version of
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Thank you. The names always toss me up now.
Man,
I'm watching repeats of
I'm
Chicago.
just telling you what I think. That's it.
You're a tough critic, Russ.
We started the show. And I definitely recommend this out there for everybody who's a sports fan. We've watched it a bunch of times here. It was one of my wife's and mine's favorite show, which is Sports Night, which was written, which is the West.
I tried it. I didn't like
Aaron
it.
Sorkin's show.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't like it, Russ?
No, I didn't like it.
Really? Oh man.
I thought it was. I mean, of the things that Sorkin has done, I think it was actually like the weakest thing that he did, because he was making up sporting events. He was making up. It wasn't like he didn't use, like in West Wing. He didn't use things that were actually happening in the world.
Right.
He made up like, well, we're gonna go to Phoenix. Where we're gonna talk about some fake name versus.
Yeah.
It was use real sports, but he probably couldn't do it because.
I don't think he could at that point. I think that was different. I think there was a difference there.
Yeah, I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I respected it. It was not a show for me. I'm not a big Sorkin fan.
Okay, yeah. So you have to be a Sorkin fan, or else you definitely wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
I want to mention one more
Don't
thing.
get me started on the newsroom. I can.
I do want to mention one more thing. We'll push the college phrase and stuff till tomorrow, but I want to point out that there was a video of Carter Hart with a guitar listening to Nickelback, and I'm telling you, if there's ever been a sad moment for Flyers fans and humanity, that poor kid is now listening to Nickelback because he can't play hockey. It's just cruel, man.
Are you sure he's not being tortured at Guantanamo?
I mean, I can't see anybody off to the side. You can't notice it, but he just seems like he's willingly listening to Nickelback, and I don't get it.
He's got a gun on him. Somebody has a gun.
That'll make the hockey guys angry. Well, hey Joe, thanks so much for joining us. Where can people find you if they want to find you on Twitter and such?
Heck, well, you can find me on Twitter at my name at goaltending. I made it really easy as long as you spell it right.
Yeah, JBYERDON.
That's correct. And find me at The Athletic. I'm in the middle of writing up a little thing right now, and we got stuff we're working on because that's all we can do right now is just work on find stuff to do.
Yeah, no, you're doing a great job. I'm reading your stuff. So you just
keep it going.
Keep it going,
guys. Thanks, Zach. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff. All right, guys, stay safe out there, and we will be back again tomorrow. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey.